Hi, we're Hugh and Jane Eaton. We're at Stencliffe Farm in Pigeon Bay on Banks Peninsula. So we go from the bottom of the valley at the creek back up onto the mountain on Mount Sinclair we finish at about 600 metres where the dockland starts. The area behind us is the wetland area. Where we decided to put the fence was initially closer in, and then we had a very wet winter, and suddenly we just discovered springs further out around the edges and decided to put it quite a long way out. And it's probably 20 metres or more out from the edge of the wetland, and in some places more than that. And in addition, next to the wetland there's a nice block of old kowhai trees on a spur here and a creek just on the other side. So while we were doing that fencing, we included that area as well. And it's not a massive area. The whole thing's about 1 hectare, and if you look at it, there's very little grazing that we fenced off and lost, so there's no loss of carrying capacity on the farm. The value of the buffer between the fence and the wetland was really just to expand the area of planting that we could do to enhance the wetland itself.
I work as a volunteer at Little River Streams Community Nursery. Our mission is to regreen the peninsula, and we want to do it with eco-sourced plants. When we were making a decision about the planting, we got some really good advice, and so that was from an ecologist at ECAN. So he gave us advice about our planting plan for the first year based on things that were perhaps missing that would add to it. And then at the same time he did an audit of what was already present, and there were well over 40 species. And since they've been fenced off, they've been able to flourish.
This was a really interesting project, and it was protecting something of real value. This whole area was logged in the 19th century and then burned and cleared, and grass seed tossed on for harvesting cocksfoot seed and grazing sheep and cattle. And so this had been grazed all as part of that, but it was a unique area, and we wanted to preserve it.
So this is an existing totara that we've put in the area, and lots of birds using it today, and because it's there, we've actually planted 10 more totara in this area to encourage it and to encourage what was here. A lot of this land was in totara, and it was milled in the late 19th century. So the covenant, we decided then, rather than just do the fencing off, we approached Banks Peninsula Conservation Trust, and we'd already had experience with them doing a bigger covenant down in the next valley, and they were really interested in having a wetland, especially at about 380 metres high.
This is a relatively small area, and we could make a big improvement quickly by doing some more intensive planting. About 1 hectare we've put in about probably 900 or 1,000 plants in the last 2 years. With weed control, the starting point was, before we began planting, was to do two sprays of about 1 metre circles. And then over the last 2 years we've probably been in 3 times and done release spraying around them. And one thing I do differently would be to make it 4 rather than 3 and do another one in that second spring, late early summer. Longer term from now on, we've got most 99% of the plants established. So the next effort is weeds and pests, and in particular woody weeds like sycamore trees. And you can see up the hill and around the wetland there's some large dead trees. Those are dead sycamores. We worked with the Christchurch City Council and shared the cost of killing them. And other weeds in there are things like old man's beard and banana passion fruit we'll need to keep on top of.
Hopefully the little kahikatea, which after a dry summer, well, it doesn't look like that now, are struggling to sit on top of their plastic guards, will be, I don't know, taller than us in 10 years' time at least, and it'll be lovely to see them flourishing, and some of the other trees that we've planted, more kowhai and fuchsia, totara, which are all existing on the farm, so it'll be lovely to have them flourishing. And the wetland itself, beautiful Carrick sector, will be up to about, I don't know, 5 feet high. Beautiful. The birds will be loving it.
With biodiversity on the farm here and with the 2 covenants we've set up, we've learned a lot about how much biodiversity there is there already and how much it can improve by protecting it. And in one way the Banks Peninsula is pretty unique, that there's probably about 20% of native vegetation now, and there's a huge opportunity for regeneration of natives in gullies and faces that you can see here, and difficult areas to farm, or blocks of gorse, for example, that are just uneconomic to farm. And over time we've learnt quite a bit more about what is here, like insects and birds and eels and reptiles and a whole lot of things that we didn't know were there.
For us anyway, it was a great help having Landcare Trust help us with fencing. This would have been a nice project to do independently, but actually fencing in this area is a remarkably expensive activity, and so to have some outside help has been the catalyst really.
Fossicking around for information's been probably starting off with the Banks Peninsula Conservation Trust and the QE2 Conservation Trust and ECAN and the Landcare Trust. We found that if we show willing and are prepared to cooperate and work with organisations like that, they've been very helpful in terms of not just knowledge but financially as well.